Hey guys, welcome back. The title of this video is going to be Positioning for the Next Economic Wave, right? So I want to show you something that's kind of fun, right? So back in 2009, when I was 29 years old, I did some surfing out in Hawaii, man. It was a great time. You know, this was like after I went surfing, hang 10, right? And then that's a little tiny baby wave in Hawaii. That's a nothing burger in my opinion. First time doing it, right? It was a scary time, right? So let's talk about that, right? Let's take that analogy of surfing with economic waves, right? In my last video, I talked about an economic wave, the attention economy, right? When it comes to like social media, YouTube, TikTok, and all that, right? But I want to kind of revisit that to give you a different perspective about these economic waves that are happening, and they happen over long periods of time, right? Waves, they can go long distances. You know, there's waves out in the ocean that can travel the entire ocean, right? You hear about those tsunamis, okay? But let's just talk about like if you were considering surfing, right? Back in 2009, when I went to Hawaii the first time, I wanted to surf so bad. I'm a snowboarder. I was really good at snowboarding, still am to this day. And I wanted to try surfing, right? But I don't live near an ocean, so it's like you get to that ocean and it's intimidating, especially in Hawaii. You got big breaks coming down hard and you feel them, right? That ocean, you can't fight against that ocean. It's strong. Right, and you're looking at it and it's intimidating. But I wanted to do it. And so my first time out there, I simply just walked out to the middle of where these waves were. And I would kind of like jump on the surfboard, waiting for that wave. And then I'd hop on it and kind of paddle with it a little bit. I'd kind of like jump with the wave and then I'd jump on the board and I'd catch a few, right? And that's kind of cheating in a sense, to be honest, right? So that was my first time. Now, the second time, I wanted to get out past the break, right? That's where the waves start, is past the break. There's a reef, right? The reef is there. There's a coral reef. And what happens is the shore comes up real shallow and the wave pops up, right? The ocean power, it pops up and that's where the wave starts. And that's where you want to catch it. That's the most fun, is if you can get out to the reef and catch that wave. And it's hard. It's intimidating. You're looking at that ocean. And the whole time to try to get out to that reef, let's talk about that. Trying to get out to that reef and catch that big wave, it's an ordeal in itself. All right. You got to paddle out there, right? You got to maneuver the waves. You got to crash into a few waves before you get out there. And by the time you get out there, you're exhausted. Okay. And, you know, when you get out to the reef, you're waiting for what's called a set, all right? And that set is typically 3 waves, right? And you got to kind of paddle yourself and move to where those sets are, all right? And you got to stay positioned, and you got to stay positioned past the reef. You got to keep paddling. You can never stop paddling. I mean, sometimes maybe you can sit out there for a little bit and chill, like past the actual break, you know, if you want to rest. But a lot of times you're positioning the entire time, waiting for that moment of execution. You're waiting to catch that wave, okay? And that is exactly like the stock market, let me tell you. All right, when I talked about in 2009, my first time surfing, I only went out to the middle of the wave. And I rode this little tiny wave. It was nothing, right? It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And you're probably going to do that, to be honest. You might position yourself to save a little bit of money, get into the stock market, and you take that first position, right? You buy maybe a stock like Apple. You want to ride the mobile phone wave, right? That's typically Apple's economic wave, the smartphone wave. Right? And right now, you're not at the beginning of the wave. You are not at the break of that wave. That wave is fizzling out, to be honest. Okay? But you could still take a position in Apple and ride a little bit of that wave that's left over. There's still a wave there, right? But for me, I took a position in 2011 on Apple, and it was a small, tiny position. I think it was like $1,300. And then the year after that, in 2012, I added to that position. I took out another $5,000, I think. So my total Apple position is like $6,000, all right? Was I right at the break? I was a little ahead of the break, right? And I was new to this, right? Somehow I caught a lucky break on that wave, that economic wave of smartphones in 2011 and 2012. And boy, it turned out pretty good, because that $6,000 now is worth around $70,000, $75,000, right? It's a nice size position, nice chunk of change, right? So I've ridden this economic wave, this smartphone economic wave, almost from the beginning all the way to shore, right? Now, the economic wave, though, they can fizzle. Just like the waves in the ocean, they can fizzle out, right? They hit the rocks and they get near, they're really close to shore and they fizzle out, right? And so you need to figure out where that wave is going to fizzle out to move out of that position. It could take 10 years, it could take 20 years, it could take 30 years. It's hard to say, right? Waves come and go, technologies come and go. And how do waves fizzle out in the economy typically? It's when the younger generation decides to adopt something new, right? I'll give you an example of the smartphone wave, what might happen, right? Mark Zuckerberg, he's doing a big bet on the metaverse, right? It's the Oculus glasses. His big bet is he's thinking that he's going to take that position away from Apple and away from Samsung for the smartphone market and build these Oculus glasses, right? And so his bet is that the younger generation will all adopt these glasses and the smartphone will kind of just fizzle out, right? That wave will end eventually. That wave will end. It'll happen. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. It could take 5 years, it could take 10 years. We don't know. And that's up for you to decide, right? Is the metaverse Oculus glasses, I'm just giving an example, is that an economic wave that's coming? The virtual reality, the augmented reality, is that a wave that you want to invest in? Are you willing to paddle out to the break and take a position and try to catch that wave at the beginning? Maybe. Or are you uncertain about that economic wave, and are you going to try to catch that wave maybe in the middle, right? It's not as much fun, there's not as much money to be made, but there's money to be made. You can catch an economic wave right in the middle and still make great money, no doubt. You know, the attention wave, the attention economy I mentioned, that wave has already started, right? You got social media with YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, but it's still a baby. Like maybe the wave is just past the break, but maybe it's got a long ways to go. Maybe that's 30 years still, right? You could still take a position with that wave and ride it quite a long ways, right? Now the AI revolution, let's talk about that one. That wave is just getting started, okay? That wave right now, if you're a surfer, you're sitting at the break today and you're looking out at the swells. You're seeing the swell. It's building up right now and you're about to catch it. That's where we're at with the AI revolution. That swell's just here and it's ready to crash over the reef. It's ready to start. And the surfers are going to catch the wave. That's what's happening right now. So it doesn't mean you need to catch it, right? You may not be able to paddle out past the break. It's hard to paddle out there, let me tell you. Right? I was 29. I was in decent shape. I wasn't in greatest shape. You know, it is what it is. Surfing's hard. And I wasn't able to get out past the break. It took me time. It took me another 5 years before I got out to the break. Right? I had taken a few times of surfing to where I got out there. And it's like that in the stock market. I had dabbled a little bit in the stock market here and there. I'd taken positions, sold positions, right? And I don't recommend that. Like long term, take a position. I'm still holding Apple 13 years later. that value chain, that wave is still running. Okay, it ain't going anywhere. At least I think, right? I probably should do some research on that, right? But where was I going with that? Yeah, that if you can get up to that break, the AI revolution, that's there. That's ready for the taking. But if you're not ready, you need to position yourself. You need to stack cash, start paddling. You're going to have to start paddling out there. Maybe take a position or two, learn about the stock market, right? Ride a little ways, right? See what that's like, right? Maybe you could double your money in one stock over maybe a 5-year period. Who knows, right? You know, and position yourself for the AI revolution. That wave, it's not at the reef yet. It's going to get past the reef, but there's still going to be a ways to go. You can still catch that wave midway and still make probably some really good money and build good amount of wealth. Okay? So I just wanted to give an analogy of surfing the ocean and riding the economic waves, right? You need to position yourself for these economic waves, right? Build cash, lower your debt, build conviction, lower your risk, okay? So anyways, just thought you guys would like to hear that analogy. It's an interesting one. It's kind of how I think of things. You know, riding these economic waves, it's fun. It's like surfing. If you catch one and you ride it all the way in, it's gold, man. It's awesome. So anyways, if you want, you guys could take a look at my previous video where I talked about the attention economy and that economic wave. It's an interesting one. And thanks for spending the time with me, and have a great day. Thanks, bye.